I want to talk about this today because I think it's really challenging to be honest with ourselves, right? So the question was, are you honest with yourself about what you keep hidden within, or do you lie to yourself? So I have a whole bunch of notes. So yes, if I'm looking down, it's because I am looking at my notes. So, just try and get the light in here a little better. So, if you think about what you tell yourself on a daily basis, if you think about what you tell others on a daily basis, you think about what you share on Facebook. Hey, Carla! If you think about what you tell others on Facebook, what you share with certain people, what you tell yourself in those quiet moments when you're by yourself, are you honest with yourself about who you are? Okay? So think about also, like, okay, so real quick, for those of you that are new to my videos, thank you so much for watching. My name's Dina Adams. I am an author, a coach, and a speaker, and I focus on self-transformation because that has been my journey. So today you guys are going to get to learn a little bit more about my journey. This is my book. It's Time to Change. This was something I launched back in April. And you see I have all my little tabs in here because this is how I mark up my books when I read through them and take notes. You know, see, like I have other books that I do that with as well. It's not just my own. But today I really want to focus on your truth, your honesty, what you tell yourself about your past. Because when we think of our past, we get told so many times, oh, forgive and forget. Oh, just move on. Oh, get over it, right? We get told all these things that make us believe we need to ignore our feelings. We need to ignore the situation. We need to ignore the person who did something wrong to us. We need to ignore all of these things. I don't think people always realize that that's the message that is being sent, is to ignore your past. But that's what tends to happen most often. So, if we think about our past traumas, so for me, past traumas would be, I was a rape victim, okay? I was abused by others in my life. I was verbally abused. I suffered a lot of trauma. I had a lot of loss, and loss is a trauma as well because it traumatizes us in a way that we no longer believe things that we should. I'm sorry, but this lighting is distracting me, and so I'm just going to change this up again real quick because I'm not sure what's happening with it over here. But we also tend to ignore things that we feel are make us feel shame or embarrassed by what happened, right? So being a victim of rape, I already had no self-worth, no self-value. I didn't see that I was worthy of the air that I breathed, okay? And that was at the age of 16, okay? That's how I felt. I didn't feel like there was any value that was carried on words that came out of my mouth, my thoughts, my beliefs, or what I told people. And so I didn't tell anybody about the rapes, the multiple rapes that happened. I didn't tell anybody about things because I was afraid that they would not believe me. So I suffered in silence. I didn't tell family, I didn't tell friends, I didn't tell anybody. But it's really important to know that whatever we are dealing with and whatever we're facing, we need to be honest with ourselves about it. We have to be truthful. We have to say, okay, this happened. Now, how am I going to deal with it? How do I feel about it? What are my options? Find a solution, right? But so many people don't realize that grieving is also a solution. It's important to go through a grief process. But what are we told? Oh, well, that's not grieving. Well, you didn't feel this way. You didn't cry. You weren't upset. You didn't say anything. So it really didn't happen, or you really aren't grieving, or you really aren't upset about it. And so we have to remember we don't have to share it with the world. Hey, Mindy. But we do need to stop ignoring what's going on in our past or what has gone on in our past. We need to stop ignoring how we feel. We need to stop ignoring what we're going through. We need to be honest with ourselves about our life, about our past. Hey, Scott, how are you? We need to be able to face ourselves. We need to be able to be all in for ourselves, because who else is going to be? Nobody. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Most people will not be all in for you because you're not all in for you, right? Yes, I'm following my notes because I wrote this out this morning because this is something that was really weighing on my heart. So if I'm looking down, it's just so that I can keep on track with my notes. You know, it's so much easier to judge others than it is to, it's so much easier to blame others. It's so much easier to focus on others, right? Hold them accountable. And it's easy to blame others for where we are in our life. Because if they would not have ... I wouldn't be going through ... right? It's easy for me to say that if I wouldn't have been raped, I wouldn't have suffered, and my life wouldn't be the way it is. But in all actuality, the reason I am where I am today is because I chose to overcome it. I chose to find a way to live my life. And actually, back then, I more chose a way to survive. For me, it was survival. I'm either going to let this beat me or I'm just going to ignore it and move on. And I had to ignore it. I didn't have a way to talk about it. I didn't have anybody I could talk to about it. I didn't have anybody I could go to. At least I didn't feel I had anybody. So it's important to know that no matter what happens in our life, we have choices, right? Don't you get a say in what happens in your life? Don't you get a choice? I may not have had a choice in the situation. I mean, I did, but my choice didn't matter, right? My choice was irrelevant in that moment. So what do I do after? And now, you know, I'm 41 years old. Do I still allow that trauma and that pain to control my life? We don't realize how much of our past traumas control our life now. Maybe we made it, you know, I've made decisions in my life that it ended up other people got hurt. I can choose to have issues with that now, or I can choose to face it and overcome it and seek out the truth that's within me and no longer be bound by those lies in my life, right? Thank you, Mindy. I'm so grateful that you read my book and that you called me this morning, because I loved that you weren't afraid. Okay, you guys, this is my friend Mindy. She's an amazing mentor, woman, mother, wife. Like, she's phenomenal. Okay? And I don't say that she doesn't have issues in her life, because we all have problems. But when I say that about her, it is because that's what I see in her, right? That's who I see in her. Hey, Katrina, we've got Canada in the house this morning. But she was not afraid to talk to me about what I wrote in my book. I've had other people read my book and say, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't stop reading it. I can't believe it. But no one was specific. She had questions. She's like, well, how did you feel about this? And what was going on here? And how'd you deal with this? And were you able to do this? And she talked to me about it. And she shared her emotion with me. That is what I want. I want to make an impact on people's lives. This is supposed to tell people what happened, and it's okay to talk about it. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about rape. We don't talk about abortion. We don't talk about infidelity. We don't talk about abuse. We don't talk about any of that stuff. I talk about it. Why? Because it's my story. It's my life. And how am I supposed to not talk about my life? Right? How am I supposed to not talk about my life? We are in a society of gossip. We talk about everybody else's lives. We don't talk about our own. Right? Okay. So, I want you to understand that you may not be able to control the situations that happen, but you can control how you face them and how you deal with them moving forward in your life. What happens to you, let's see, you may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can control what you choose to do with either of those in the moment or after the fact. I know it sounds simple, But it's not easy, you guys. It's not easy. It takes work. It takes dedication. It takes a willingness to face your fears, your past, your flaws, your imperfections. And it's about facing your truth. Your truth. Not the truth that other people have about you. The truth that I believed back then was a lie. They were lies other people made me believe, that I wasn't valuable, that I had no self-worth, that I was a waste of breath, that I was a waste of space on this earth. Right? That's what I believed about myself. And it was because of other people's actions towards me that I believed that. It wasn't my truth. So you have to be willing. Okay? Hey, Carmen, you have to have a willingness to face all those things, but you have to be willing to believe that one, and this is the most important thing, is that you matter. If you go to my website, on there it says I matter, because when people look at it, I want them to say I matter. You have to be able to say I matter. I am important. I have value. I have worth, right? And you have to, above all else, love yourself in spite of your past, in spite of your flaws, in spite of the imperfections. You have to love yourself as you are, because we are all created in the image of our Creator, right? That is how we are created. We have imperfections, and that's okay. We are not meant to be perfect. God calls the unqualified every time. Why? Because it's through the lessons, it's through the hard, it's through the pain that we go through, that we learn, that we're able to give that wisdom to others. It's through the path that He brings us on that we're able to give to others. And don't mistake your hard for God's path either, because there are times that I was so lost and not on His path, but that's my story. Finding my way back to the path that God had for me is my story. Okay? You can choose to change your life. You can choose to have something different than what you have. You can choose to say, you know what, I want something different. I'm ready for a different life. I'm ready to face my past. I'm ready to discover who I truly am, what my truth is. I'm ready to defeat the past that I have lived and overcome it and no longer let it bind me. And I choose to design the future that I know God's calling me for. You can choose all of that. But are you going to take action on it? And are you actually going to do it? Are you actually willing to face your past, to face your imperfections, to face your flaws, to be able to say, I am 100% responsible for where I am in my life right now, and it is my fault. It is my fault I am where I am. Now, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to be a victim? Am I going to want people to feel sorry for me? Am I going to complain and draw this out and just expect them every time it comes up in my life, I'm just going to complain about it and keep complaining about it and keep complaining and talking about it, as other people will say, oh, I'm so sorry, that must be so hard. But you know what? That gets exhausting and people no longer want to hear it, right? And I bet you get tired of complaining. But that's living in a victim mentality of poor me all the time. And expecting others to just give to you because you feel like it's deserved. Because of everything you've gone through, you deserve this. Or because of what others have gone through, you deserve something. You don't deserve any of that. You deserve what you give yourself. You deserve the value that you give yourself. You have to take action. I cannot stress this enough. If you want to change the direction of your life and you don't want to be like your parents and you don't want to be these things, decide what you want to be. It's easy. Oh my gosh, it's so easy to say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. I don't want this for my kids. I don't want this for myself. I don't want this for my spouse. I don't want this for my friends. Are you doing anything to change it? What do you want? Right? You have to decide what you want. What are you willing to go after? What are your dreams? What is that end result 5, 10, 20 years down the road, so that when you get there, you have other dreams and goals to keep going, right? What is it that you want for your life? You have to determine, one, that you matter. So tell yourself every day, I matter. I matter, I matter, I matter. I had that on my mirror in my bathroom for 6 months. I matter. And I said it to myself every time I went in the bathroom. until I believed it. So you must, first after you choose, you must take action and have follow through. So even when you don't want to do it, you have to do it. If we live our life based on how we feel, we will never achieve what we deserve or what we desire or what our goals are or what our dreams are. We'll never get there, right? You have to invest time in yourself. You have to take the time. Thank you, Tanea, for sharing. You have to take the time to invest in yourself. Shut out the world. Read a personal development book. Read someone's story. Read something that brings value. If I move out of the way right here, what do you guys see? You guys see books right here. This is all personal development. This is all self-help. This is all focused on my faith. This is focused on what I need to do, my devotions. This is all focused on what I need to do for myself every day, what I need to do to feed into me. Let me ask you a question. If you do not do for yourself, how are you able to do for anybody else? I want that to sink in. If you are not doing for yourself, how are you doing for anybody else? If I don't give myself the time to digress from my day, if I don't give myself the time to walk away from my work, if I don't give myself the time to heal, to help myself, to pour into me, to rejuvenate my mind, my body, and my spirit, what am I giving to my husband, my family, my clients, my coaching clients, the people that you guys, what am I giving to you? I have nothing to give to you if I'm not doing for me. So you have to invest time in yourself, and you have to care for yourself. Maybe you need a massage once a month. Maybe you need to go on a hike and get out of the world and just go be away. Maybe you need to go to counseling and start learning what's holding you, learning some things about yourself. Maybe, or, to help yourself. Maybe you need to get a coach. Maybe you need to invest in some books or personal development. Maybe you need to invest somehow in your time. Care for yourself and know your value. If you don't know your value, learn it. Learn that you have value. What do people come to you for all the time? That is value, right? We don't always feel valuable. We a lot of times feel used. We don't feel valued, okay? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be. Be honest with yourself. That's the only way you can start on your path to being an overcomer. It's the only way. You have to be honest with yourself about your past, about where you've been, about your trials, about your shame, about your whatever, actions you've done in the past maybe you're not so proud of. I know I'm not, Who can say they're proud of themselves because they had an abortion at 17, 18 years old? It's not something you're proud of. It's a choice that I made when I was in high school, and I didn't feel I had another choice because I had no value. I had nothing in my life that I felt I was worth anything at that age. All through high school, I felt worthless. Okay? That's how I felt. Because I didn't know my truth. I didn't know at my core who I was and who I had the right to be. I didn't understand that I didn't have to be what society said I had to be. I didn't have to be what my family name said I had to be. I didn't have to be what others said I had to be. I didn't have to be even what my parents said I had to be. I didn't have to be what my teachers said what I was. I didn't have to be what anybody else said I was or had to be. I needed to know that I mattered, that I had value, and I had the right to choose my life. What ended up happening was I was always running away from what I didn't like. And I wasn't running to anything. I was just had to get away. I had to get out. I had to get out of wherever I was all the time. I was always trying to escape because I didn't know me. Okay, so I really hope this was valuable to you guys today. Please share it out with on your pages and help people see that there is so much more than where they are. And there's so much more within you that you're capable of if you just allow yourself to know that you matter and to learn your self-worth and to learn your value.